It's good to have a laugh when you get a win on a ball game, even if it's the preseason.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome for those of you that are up late. It's midnight on the East Coast. I hope you enjoyed that ball game out here in the desert. The Chiefs certainly enjoyed it because they looked right as rain once they got rolling. This is going to be a fun one. This is what we usually call Sunday Night Live, the breakdown, the post-game show. We'll have another quick one for you tomorrow night if I can make everything come together. And our Q&A will be on Monday as always. So this is a stretch run. We've got preseason game number 2 out of the way. We're going to give you our takes, go over my notes, go over Dan's notes, whatever stands out, answer a few of your questions tonight. I know it's late, so we won't go super long, but Monday we'll answer every question that you guys have. So I see the super chats in here already. We thank you for the support. If you want to support the channel, feel free to jump in there. Every super chat gets an answer. But for me, Dan, I was pretty happy on the day all around. I'm confused by a few things. But what was your big takeaway on this ball game?
I loved watching, them actually get it going. Like you could tell that they were waiting for something to happen. Their first preseason game, they didn't really execute that well. They were like, fine, we'll pull the starters. And then they didn't execute very well again. And Andy's like, hey, guys, stop messing around. Get out there and get something done. And the offensive line was doing a nice job keeping Patrick with some bubbles. It was nice to see him in some of his own bubbles. He got outside the pocket a little bit, worked things out. But when they get going, they are the best team in football. That was pretty obvious. And they're obviously steamrolling one of the worst teams in one of the worst rosters in football. That's the little bit we have to be able to account for here.
Yeah, I mean, it's Saturday night, so I'm going to go have me a nice scotch here afterwards. But I got to take it with a little bit of salt on the rim because that was not, honestly, anything past the mid-second quarter, that was not a professional football team out there. No. There are a lot of guys playing in the second half that are not going to make an NFL roster. So
playing in the XFL and the USFL come springtime. That's what this is.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind as we go through some of this, because I think that played into some of the decisions about who played where and when and who got targets, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of questions there. For me, the big plus for me was the wide receivers. The big takeaway for me was the offensive line depth. I thought the starters played fine. I thought Mahomes had plenty of time the whole way around. I thought Bichelle being the second quarterback up tonight. I know you guys have questions about that. We will get to them. I thought he had generally good protection as well. It's just that it didn't come from the sources that I thought. There's been a change, folks. Last week, first guy off the bench was Wanye Morris. I was pretty excited about that. I've been projecting him as the swing tackle. He didn't play till the mid-third quarter tonight.
Mid-third, yeah.
That's a problem. Lucas Niang went to left. Now that I feel is kind of an experiment. Mm-hmm. I don't know that that's a destination spot for him. You know what I mean? And Protego Nagoman, the right, who had played on the left-hand side before. The interesting thing is that when Wanye did come in later, he played on a bit on both sides. So it seems that they're really testing all their backup tackles about where do you fit in best? Where can you perform the best? Wanye had some crap reps tonight. I'm going to tell you. I've got 3 notes in here that I'm like, who is this kid? Because he's not the same guy that played last week against better competition. And maybe that's the concern here. Or maybe it was, hey, you're just not going to see anything good. We're going to put you in late in the game. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean?
I just don't think he's a left tackle. He doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't look good. He looks actually like a non-NFL player at left tackle. He looks like he just can't play it right now. And I don't think he's a swing tackle right now. Right now, he's your backup right tackle, I think. And that's fine. But at the end of the day, you have 3 guys that you're rotating in. Prince looks like the locked-in left tackle backup, in my opinion. He looked pretty good. Comfortable. He looks way better than he has all his entire career in Kansas City, that's for sure. And like I said, they were giving Lucas the opportunity to kind of see if he could challenge for that. I don't think he was able to make that. I think he's still fighting to be the backup right tackle, which, again, I think is Wanye at the moment. But it's nice to see you have some tackle depth and you can mess around with if you need to. And you don't necessarily have to be everything's, brakes falling off. You're going to a hell in a handbasket if you have an injury here or there.
Yeah. I mean, that is a nice luxury to have. I think one of them is going to be trade bait because there are enough teams in this league that don't have tackle play that's that quality that you could get something for them. Because I can't see him carrying 5 tackles. They're not going to let Wanye go. There's just no way after the investment in the draft. Lucas is probably on the edge there too because of the draft investment. And if he is actually rounding into form to outplay Morse right now, then the guy who cost them the least is Pristego, but he's the guy who was the first one into left tackle reps this offseason.
I was about to say he might be the guy that they end up trading off. Like he might be.
Yeah, I mean, that is all to say that I don't think 5 tackles can exist on this 53-man roster. We've talked about maybe going down to 8. They got to have 9. If they were to keep 10 to keep 5 tackles, I would be shocked because that means Justin Ross ain't making this roster. And I know we all know that he should make this roster.
I disagree.
You think he is the 5th wide receiver? Because if there's what I'm saying is if there's 10 offensive linemen, there's only 5 receivers making the 53.
I also disagree with that. I think if you have 10 offensive linemen, there's only going to be 3 running backs and 3 tight ends. That's what I think.
I can get down with that, but tonight Shane went and screwed up my whole damn plan.
He's making the roster, guys.
I know. I'm pissed.
Right now it looks like the way I'm projecting it, and I think we'll do our 53-man rosters probably before the last preseason game, just to kind of have it in there, maybe right after. But I think that it's going to be 3 tight ends and 3 running backs, specifically because Fortson's injury really kind of locks it up for them, in my opinion. And then you have the guy who was projected to be the 4th running back as your starting kick returner, and Generic Prince seems to be relegated to the practice squad almost immediately. He's gone the opposite direction, and that makes me think they're going to keep 3 running backs.
I have to lean that way, although I just don't know that that's enough. The attrition that they go through every year running back.
Don't disagree.
I don't know. We're going to have to run that scenario. And folks, maybe we'll do that on the Monday night show a little bit, or maybe even tomorrow night, because we have that tool. I thought I had made it public, but maybe I haven't tweeted that out yet. So you can balance the roster yourselves, because this is where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
So, man, that was a shakeup. There's a little bit on the defense that I have some questions about as well. I am really hoping that my guy, Anderson Hardy, who I thought played good at left guard against the 3s and 4s tonight, I expect him to make the practice squad. I'm kind of excited about him. Godric got in the 4th quarter there over at right tackle as well.
There were some names pulled up from this game against the Cardinals that I didn't expect.
But I'll tell you, the thing that I'm most pleased about, Kendrick Copeland's going to play in this league, and I'm pretty freaking happy about it. Like,
I mean,
he got in the 1st with the 1s. All of a sudden, it's like, oh shit, I can run now. I have a little bit of stamina. In the 4th quarter, he didn't have any stamina. He looked exactly like Colin Saunders 4 years ago, right? Like, great. Oh crap, I'm out of juice.
It's funny because that get off was pretty apparent when he got on the field early. He was like, okay, my first step is there. The pass rush, it's just not there yet. Yeah, you just don't ask him to be a pass rusher yet. That's why you saw him. He got like in the backfield on a run stop where he's going down the right-hand side on the offensive line on a run stop, and then they're like, "Hey, if this is passing, get off the field." So he's running off the field like
go.
They know. So yeah, and that's why you guys, when he was drafted in the 6th round, both Ryan and I were like really happy that it happened. We were like excited about it, especially because we were both in on those defensive tackles out of Texas and Ojomo and Coburn, and the Chiefs landed one of them. So that was nice to see. But he's gonna be the starting like run stopper next year, in my opinion. Like Derek Nani, love you. You've done a great job. Think that they're gonna be moving on with Kendrick Coburn next year.
Could be. I'm pretty excited about him. And the fact that there was one play, I had to tweet it out too when it happened too, where he was like 20 yards downfield chasing somebody and he looked like Colin. Now I don't expect him to ever play linebacker. Colin, you still have that locked up, buddy. But I was pretty excited about that. Now there's 1,000 takeaways. We're going to go through some of the notes as we go through your questions tonight, and then we'll cover all of them here coming up on the Monday night. But I will try, like I said, to do something again tomorrow night. If we get pushed off of that, we'll let it ride. But I will definitely let you guys know. So let's start with Knicks fan. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. The wide receiver stood out, especially Rice. I think Burrow is good, but anyone. Oh, Burrow. Oh, okay. Let's see. Mahomes is the best. Yes. Sick of Chase talking already. Yeah, they do seem jealous, don't they, Knicks fan? I agree with you. I was really happy because here's how I see it, and everybody can argue with me, and that's fine. The Justin Watson sighting tonight, I think, allayed all my concerns about him. I think he's going to be the fourth guy. And I'm counting KT as being there.
Yeah.
Because I just think they trust him. And so he got a couple of looks. That push-off was BS. He obviously did things later in the game. That's fine. So I think because of experience and everything else, he's going to be the fourth receiver. But that says, okay, I know all that. I don't need to worry about that. We're going to feed Rashid. We're going to see what he does. And then he and Justin started the game the same way with a drop. And then they both recovered. I think Rashid recovered a lot better, but they fed him a lot more too. In fact, that drop was his only incompletion when he was targeted. This feels very much, and again, watching him run, I feel comfortable that he can do the things Juju did when he gets into the offense. And I'm not mean this year, I mean next season. He's got a little bit more under his belt. But I feel like there's a little more juice there. And I feel like they can get him in. He could be a guy that is a fifth, maybe even the sixth guy in a depth chart of wide receivers that can still come in and produce against 90% of the league. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy. And it's because you look at the athletic explosive ability that he brings. That's not something that anyone was projecting from the draft, because they didn't go a year back and look at his tape from a year ago, 2 years ago, like I was doing. And I'm like, I'm telling you guys, he's more explosive. And the injury was definitely hampering him. And then we see the testing, and now we see it's actually legitimate. It's not just he trained really well for the combine. That's something you have to figure out too. So they were like, we're going to see what you got, because we kind of know almost what everybody else is at this point in their careers. We want to see more out of the guy who hasn't been doing it as long. And I think that he did a great job of bouncing back from that, stepping up, making guys miss multiple. He had 4 or 5 missed tackles forced in this game. Like, that's an impressive thing for a rookie to come in and be able to do that, even in the preseason, regardless of who it's against. So the fact that he was able to do that, we're going to be looking at him pretty closely this week for you guys. I definitely want to get eyes on him, maybe multiple wide receivers, because there were quite a few guys that had some numbers today.
Yeah, your guy, I'm sure we'll talk about Monday, if not tonight. We're coming up on there. Thank you, Knicks fan. Appreciate you. Thought our first team DBs looked good. Thank you, Jackson. First team pass rush, not so much. I pretty much agree with you, although I will say Hollywood doesn't scare me as much as he should. I do think McDuffie has a couple plays he'd like back. I thought McDuffie was solid, but he wasn't as good as I expected.
I'm interested about the corners because they seem to be out of place quite a bit in the preseason. And I'm wondering if they're trying something out, like if they're trying to let them adjust or play them off a little bit more, because I also don't see a lot of press on these guys. Maybe I'm just mistaken on that, but on first watch, it looks like they're being allowed to play off quite a bit, which is a little different than I think we're going to see in the regular season, because we know that Spags likes to blitz, and when you blitz, you want to have the ability to be right on the wide receiver in their hip pocket. So I think we're seeing a little bit of them trying some things out, and when the regular season hits, you're going to see some things go back to normal.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that too, especially late in the game. I thought they were playing off, cover 3 a lot. Isn't something that we typically see a ton of. There was a shake up there. It was Williams with the start tonight. Watson started last week. Watson and Echo Boydo were the second ones in. Halasi got demoted in terms of like where he played in this ball game, which I was surprised by. I thought he played okay, but he did let a couple of guys get loose on him too. So like maybe something happened this week in practice we don't know about, but it definitely was a bit of a shakeup. But the big takeaway on the positive side for me is that I thought they were restricting Tamari Connor's role. They're not. He played safety. He played nickel. He played outside corner a couple of times tonight as well. And it seems like he's had a quiet camp, but it's starting to click.
He was playing first team snaps. He was in there multiple times with the first team. That's not a fluke. It's not. Yeah. You saw, I was so mad at him because he played really well, except for that missed tackle behind the line of scrimmage where he just let the running back fall off of him. And I was just like, Keontae Ingram is not that guy. He's not going to break a bunch of tackles. You just did not tackle him. And if you guys remember from my film review, he's not the best tackler. So I would imagine he heard a little bit of an earful from that, because that's something they have to have been working on all training camp, all offseason, because it's one of the big bugaboos about his game.
Yeah, I think so as well. Unfortunately, Leo was the same way. Leo made a couple of nice plays, but he let that touchdown in because he just didn't wrap up. And again, Ingram should not be that guy. Brandon, how about Chris Aludicon, or however I'm supposed to say his name now? I don't know. Right. Okay.
I thought it was Aludicon.
Okay. I'm glad to know you will. He looked impressive. Does he make the practice squad? I think that's exactly where he's destined for. I don't think he looks good enough against fours to make somebody else's roster or for somebody to come take him off of waivers. But I do think he'll be on the practice squad. And I think he's shown more than I expected, to tell you the truth.
No, me too. Like the arm looks live. He's active in the pocket when there's chaos around. He seems comfortable. He doesn't seem like he shuts down. He's looking to make a play extend. And that's something that you even see Trey Lance struggling with in the NFL. Yeah. Like these quarterbacks that come in, it's hard to adjust to the chaos, especially when you don't play with any chaos around you, or it's just a different speed. So the fact that even with the fourth stringers and the third stringers playing out there for the Cardinals, you do see some chaos around, and he's not uncomfortable. So those are all really nice qualities to see in a young player.
Agreed. Jackson, do we carry 3 RBs? I think it might be possible because that would turn into the 7th wide receiver spot. I think, as Dan was saying before, 3 RBs and likely now only 3 tight ends. I don't think you can justify, as much as I like Bushman, I don't think you can justify Bushman and Bell. So I think it's an either-or situation behind Noah and Kels. I like some of the things Blanton does. I don't think he's as sure-handed as they had hoped. He looks the part. He reminds me of Ross Travis from a few years, or Travis Ross. I can't remember what his name was.
Ross Travis,
where he just never quite got there, but he looks like a pretty athletic guy. I think he might be a practice squad option there. But yeah, 3 running backs looks like what it's going to be here. And Pirine, you can get to the practice squad without an issue.
Yeah, I like him though. He's been showing some nice juice, and I like what I'm seeing out of Pirine. And again, if they do keep 4, I do think it's Pirine over Prince, pretty hands down.
I do too right now. Coleman, Dan, what did you see of the Ross route running? Any improvement?
So the thing about Ross is that he's not an explosive mover. You can see he's getting more comfortable, and that little sluggo almost like they ran where really is more of an outgo. It was kind of like this jab step to the inside. There's no safety help over top. This is a route designed to hit the corner of the end zone. And I know everyone wants to blame Gabbert for missing that throw. He didn't miss the throw. He put it just about exactly where he's supposed to. And instead of Ross turning to his left to go catch the football, he turns to his right first, and he's like, oh, shit, I have to get around. And you could see that, he was frustrated with himself because he should have caught a touchdown pass. It was a good move, really good jab step. He's doing the good things in the deep and the short parts of his game. Like the whip route or the pivot, whatever you want to call it, that was good. Also off coverage, so the corner was already moving. These are things we have to consider in his routes. My issue with him is that when he runs curls, when he runs slants, when he runs anything over the middle of the field and intermediate, there's a corner right there. His drop, there's a corner right in his pocket because he's not creating a separation. So that's what I'm looking for. He's got to get to that point, and then I think he'll be back to what he was in college before he got hurt. That's what it was. He was beating teams over the middle of the field, like he was just beating them like a drum. So I'm excited because he's getting comfortable. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, the pivot was nice. The DB overcharged it, but the big thing for me is that I take away from that is that, and I call it a pivot. In some offense, it's called a whip, folks. You can name it whatever the heck you want, but it's a staple everywhere, right? The good thing is generally you're expected to meet contact pretty quickly, unless you're like a super quick guy like Edelman or those tiny white dudes that are like 5'8". Outside of that, you're expected to deal with contact right there. And that part he did. When contact did come, he was able to turn some yak. So I was encouraged by that. That was the big takeaway for me with Rice too, that I didn't mention earlier is after contact, like I'm really starting to get comfortable with both those guys. So
absolutely
just keep that rolling. I dig it. Daryl, Are we going to keep Shane Michelle from getting snatched off the price spot? Yeah, that's the problem. I've been telling you guys for weeks. I think they should only keep 2. I surrender. Shane screwed my whole plan, and now I have to keep him, even if I'm beach. So yeah, they'll keep him on the 53 now because went and screwed that whole thing up. Damn it. But Kurt, it's not this far. I mean, it's not this far down the road, right? It's not Shane over Blaine in my mind.
No, it's not. They're both on the roster. And I know there's still some people saying that Gabbert missed him in the end zone. Didn't miss him. No. Sorry, guys. He didn't miss him. He's thrown to a spot. That play is drawn up for a spot throw. It's not to the receiver. It's to the spot.
And more likely, it wasn't even drawn up that way. It's an option route, and he chose the wrong way. That's why. The other option is to be standing in the corner of the end zone. Yeah. So he misread that, and I think that's why he was upset with himself. And good for him for holding himself accountable. Next time, he won't make that mistake because it's the leverage of the corner that determines the route. The quarterback can see that. You have to see that as well. But honestly, this is something that McColl did all the time. He just didn't get the target on top of it. So it wasn't as blatantly on camera for us to see, right? So I think he's going to be fine. Not a worry.
Me too.
But Blaine's going to be just fine. And honestly, I like the way this quarterback room is coming together to support Patrick. I was a little iffy about Gabbert when they first signed him because, you know, it's been a long road for him. You know what I mean? But I'm kind of digging the moxie they all are showing right now.
I mean, to be honest, Caleb, it was a long road for Chad Henne, too. Chad Henne was well-traveled in his...
last bus out of Jacksonville. Okay.
And he was like, I'll hit your ride in Kansas City.
Woo! Here we go. Caleb, with the growth is Rice. How much bigger of a role with the offense does he have this year compared to Sky last year? I think that's going to be the question. For me, if KT is back, and I got to tell you, like, I'm glad that they're optimistic he'll be back week 1. He ain't going to be 100% week 1. I guarantee you that. As far as all my experience in dealing with injury, that's right on the front edge of being able to return to action. So I think he might be 70, 80%. So he'll give you some snaps, but I think the next guy off the bench right now, it looks like Watson to me. And so then is it Richie or is it Rasheed? It could be back and forth. I love the jet action from Richie tonight. I wasn't sure if he could do that effectively, but I was pretty happy with it. So for Rasheed, I think, again, I go back to what I thought a few months ago. First half of the season is going to be pretty sparse for him, it feels like. And that's why they're giving him all this experience now so that come the bye week, some injuries, he'll be able to step in and take that up. And so, like, process, it seems like it'll be a lot like Sky. But I think overall, I think he's going to beat him in all the numbers.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And this definitely seems like if you are called upon, you will be ready to handle that situation because they didn't do that with Sky in the preseason last year. He wasn't funnel targets. He really wasn't. And they kind of saw the efforts of that go the opposite direction because they threw a ton at Sky. And when he was asked to be on the field a ton, you know, he won here and there, but he was not comfortable in the offense. That was very obvious. So I think that they're saying, Rasheed, look, we're going to do this. You're going to get a ton of these targets. We're going to throw a lot at you in the preseason. And if we have to call upon you in the regular season to be more of like a half to full-time player, you're going to be ready to handle it because we've done that already.
Exactly. And I think that's honestly kind of cool because especially when you get to that point, if KT's out for a little bit, Watson starts, but he's big body. We know that. He can run out of the slot. That's fine. But you make a quick change personnel, and you can bring Richie and Rasheed in, and you can go 4 wide, run those 4 verts that they love, and everybody can get open. Like, I'm pretty excited about the whole concept. Like, I'm into these last-minute non-Madden changes, so you don't pick the play 30 seconds ahead of time. Just run a dude on in the last 5 seconds to take advantage. That's what I'm here for. Rain and Tacos, thank you for your support, pal. Is there any substance to Shane before Gabbert? Did Shane get bumped to QB2? And I wanted to answer the other one first because that's what you're really asking is, did the depth chart change tonight?
Yeah.
And I don't think so. Only because this was a shit team they played. Let's be real. So good for him for making the most of his opportunity. But I do think that Andy is going to lead towards experience no matter what.
Unless Bouchel comes out next week and just lays everything on the line. He's making guys miss. He's like throwing darts right over the arms of outstretched guys. Like, this is going to be Blaine Gabbert 2 and Shane Buechele 3, but he's playing well enough that Andy's like, I don't want you going anywhere. I want you here just in case. Like that's what Andy wants.
Hey, I'm just going to address this now so we don't have to come back to it. Todd, I'm glad you have a strong opinion. I completely disagree with you, and every experience that I've ever had says you're absolutely incorrect. But I hope that you're right for your sake. That is not the way that play is designed to go. But either way, it's a preseason game. They're going to get other opportunities to work together, and I think that's what we need to build on for next week. The real question for me, remember like 3 days ago when Andy said Stars are going to play a half?
Oh, yeah.
Hell no. So the real question is, how much do they play next week?
I don't think they're going to at all.
They shouldn't. Yeah.
It should
be Gabbert with Ross. It should be.
Yeah, that's their fourth game, right? Like that's the quote unquote fourth season, because it's 3 preseason games. So this should be their quote unquote fourth one. So yeah, they're not playing any of them.
So that should mean that you get to see Rasheed, you get to see Richie, and you get to see Ross, all with Gabbert. And hopefully it works out that they then pull Gabbert and you get to see him with Shane as well. So like that's the transition that I'm looking forward to.
Give me that all day, every day. Give me like a full route tree of Justin Ross next week. This is the time he's making this roster, in my opinion. Yeah. You got to see what he's going to be able to handle. Give him the workload. You did it to Rasheed this week. Let Ross get a little bit more next week. He needs to feel what that's going to be like if he's going to be asked to be thrown into some of these situations too, because you never know. That happened last year where you saw even, practice squad receivers being brought up and having to play in games. Like it happens. So he's got to be able to come in and do what Rashee Rice did this week, and kind of what Powell and Ross did last week, where they kind of split that role with the second 13.
Yeah. Are by the way, are you gonna cry when Powell's playing with Trevor and for Doug again?
I'll be happy for him.
I will too.
I think he's played well enough, and he's had a good camp. I think someone's gonna pick him up. But if not,
I think it's gonna be Doug Peterson.
No, I'm all in. I'd be happy to see him with Trevor Lawrence again, be reunited. It'd be a lot of fun. I'm hoping for it, because I think he deserves to be somewhere where he can get some playing time. He looks comfortable. He looks good. And most importantly, he looks like he's ready to move on. He's not going to get a role here.
Yeah.
He's not getting a role here.
This one specifically for you, because I'm going to let you go first. Did Williams take the CB2 spot or CB3?
So I think that's been my stance for most of training camp, even with last week. I think that they were just trying to see what's what here. And we won't know, but I think that Ryan and I are both right. They're just going to keep rotating these guys in, and there's going to be a starter one week. There's going to be a starter next week where they're both going to play.
I agree. I think they're doing it with the whole corner crew. Like it's like you got 5 toddlers here. I'm gonna let you play for this one, so everybody else gets pissed off. And then I'm gonna let you play with that kid.
Share,
and then you can
share.
It's Sam ring around the rosy. I don't know. Because I thought Halasi getting demoted in terms of reps. At first, I was like, I literally wrote in my notes here in the last drive of the first half, I was like, are they burying him to hide him? Is that what they're doing? Because like he didn't play in the whole first half. So
that was weird.
And I like Echo. I think Echo's in the running as well. But I didn't feel like he outplayed him last week. So I don't know if this is a practice thing or if there's something else going on or if it's just a mental deal. I don't know.
It's possible practice played into this, because Boydo was very good when I was at training camp on Tuesday. He was very good. So it's very possible he earned those reps in practice.
Okay, fair enough. If you take them, that's yours. I'm all for earning it. Am I wrong in thinking Shamari Cardinal will not only make the roster but potentially play a role this season? No, you ain't wrong at all. I think the role might be evolving. I thought at first they were just going to bury him behind Edwards as like the fourth safety that could do, like the middle robber type stuff. But I know he has it in him to play nickel. I wouldn't say he looked like a natural nickel tonight, but he's functional. And so being able to play all 3 positions, I mean, again, you just make sure that you wrap up, bro, and we're okay.
Make sure, just grab that hand, man. Just just grab your hands. Just make sure that those guys don't fall around.
Put them together on the backside. Okay, that's how you do that. Now I'm with you. Thanks, Ekia. Kel, are you concerned with some of the drops? Are you worried yet? It's been consistent 2 weeks.
No, just think back to the Texans playoff game when the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl. How many drops happened on those drives where they didn't have a rhythm? Did you guys see any drops the rest of the game after they got into a rhythm? No, and the same thing really happened after they got into a rhythm tonight. They had some connection issues, some guys dropping. It looked like Rasheed was trying to run before. He caught that ball the first time. It looked like he was like, I'm already running. That happens a lot. And then as soon as they got comfortable, they settled down, drop stopped happening. So, no, I'm not too worried about it.
Cool. I am totally with you. Donnie, thank you, buddy. Good question, too. Who has more potential, Ross, Sky, or Rice? Whew.
If we're talking about what they've ever been in their careers, I mean, it's Justin Ross. But at the same time, right now, it's Sky Moore. I think Sky Moore has the best potential out of all of these guys, mostly because he's got the most experience in the NFL. He's learned the most out of all of them. And I think that the big thing that separates him from Ross or Rice is the coverage identification factor. He sees coverage better. And I think that's right now, if we're determining potential, that's one thing he has on both of them that allows him to get open. And we're not really seeing him featured almost at all in the preseason, which tells me at least that they're like, we don't have to worry about you.
You're okay.
So
I'll put it this way: in terms of ceiling of potential to be a number one wide receiver, Ross the most. He also has the most likelihood of getting hurt or not being able to complete that journey.
Agreed.
I actually believe that in long term, Rice has a better chance of becoming a number one than Sky does. I think Sky's always going to be a complimentary player, but that's just me. That isn't a dig on Sky. It's just because of the way that his game is built. But this season, I think Sky has easily the most potential to contribute to the offense. And that might even carry over into 2024 as well. But like long term, if Justin Ross never gets injured again and plays a 10-year career without fault, he ends up being the best of these three, is my thought.
I agree. Like that's the thing, is we're asking if he gets healthy and plays without really screwing anything else up for a while. Yeah, he's definitely got the most potential.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you, by the way, Donnie. Appreciate you. Info, hope you're doing well. Nice to see you back. Gabbert was better, not a big deal either way, than Bichelle, in my opinion, regardless of the numbers. I didn't see Bichelle go past his first read once and was staring down his receivers. That may be true. I wasn't really paying attention to the eyes. I was really looking for execution. And honestly, I was watching the O-line a lot tonight. So, but that's fair. But we also have to admit, neither of those guys was facing a dominant defense. So I do believe there were some goals in mind to feed certain people. And I do think Rasheed was one of them. So I'm not going to hold that against Bichelle. I think they were looking for connection there, looking for adaptability on Rasheed's Rice to adapt to his quarterback. So I don't think it matters. I think the big deal is going to be experience and being able to deal with pressure situations. This is the preseason. Bichelle's showing the best performance he's ever had, in my opinion. Doesn't mean anything about playing in a playoff game. Gabbert's been there. There's a big step up there. So I don't think it really matters. Only thing that I know is they are going to keep both of them on the 53 in case of emergency. Whoever gets to go in, they get to go in. I don't care.
Yep. That's all that matters. And that's all that Andy Reid cares about. He's like, execution, style. Okay, we're good.
Yeah. Checkity check. What do you got here from Austin? Worst performance, DiCaprio Bootle or Isaiah Simmons?
I mean, considering the level of player, it's Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons doesn't look I'll be honest. He's going back to playing safety, like where he should be in the nickel most of the time. And it's just one of those things that he's had. I think he switched positions 4 different times in his career, 3 or 4 times in his career already. So I don't fault him for a lot in terms of what he's gone through. And I think that he'll be better this year than the preseason game he played in. DiCaprio Bootle, man. I tweeted it. I think he gets cut like tomorrow.
Oh,
it probably won't happen tomorrow, but I don't think.
Yeah.
When I say cut, he's practice squad bait. That's what he is. He's going to be. He's not making the roster. He's not even vying for the ability to make the roster. He's just a practice squad guy.
Yeah, which is really weird because they played him. I think he actually came into the game before Boyedo or Halasi. So
Yeah,
the two guys that I would say that he was competing with, he got the first look, and I think he kind of fell on his face. I agree with you. I put in my notes tonight, practice squad only. Hold on, I didn't actually read that one. Sorry, Scott. So let's go to the Chiefs. How many quarterbacks will they make the roster after 9? Yep. Okay, so we did cover that anyway. So thank you, Scott. We're both in on 3. Javonce's one of our oldest members. We appreciate you, buddy. Nice to see you. We look good, even though it was the Cardinals. Still have some work to do. You are absolutely right. Just like this damn live stream, we still have some work to do.
Always.
It's late. It's late for me. I'm a pain. I haven't even had a beer yet. It's Saturday night. My wife's like, I'm going to go to bed if you take too long. So,
I went to dinner tonight and I didn't have a beer. I've been good.
Well done.
Been good.
I'm falling off the wagon here tonight. I'll tell you that. Okay. Got that one from Austin. All Bono. Does Jody get cut? No, Jody's going to IR. There is a possibility. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because this is the first time that I know something about this kind of thing. So I wanted to talk. There is a possibility he does get cut with an injury designation, which would allow him to then say, if the process of his rehab is going well, they don't expect him to miss the season, they could sign him to the practice squad after he clears, and then he would be available to come up later in the season if that were to so happen.
Yeah, there are 2 ways to do that. You can do that just as you said, or you put him on IR now, and then when you get to that point, you then cut him and sign him back. So it's just a matter of when it gets done, but the process is the same. You have to finish his current contract that is getting placed on IR before you could get him back when he's healed. So let's hope. I think the Chiefs would like to have him back. Everything that I've heard from them indicates that. So we'll just see. It's been a rough road for him.
Yeah, man.
Ludicon looks like a starting quarterback, in my opinion. Super impressive tonight. What are your thoughts and opinions on his performance over the last 2 games? Shane out, keep Ludicon. I like Ludicon as well. I do think he has improved as well. I think there will be guys maybe asking for him. I don't think he has a whole lot of trade value, but I think somebody will make a question. I don't know that he's going to get picked up though. So I do think he ends up being the practice squad player. The scout quarterback that can do some of the things that they don't want to risk Buechele for. But I think Buechele played him, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I think that he's looked good. We kind of talked about his skill set, the fact that he doesn't look like he's swimming in too much information, and he's looking to make plays with chaos around him. Those are all good signs. And a practice squad guy as QB4, I don't think teams are going to be like, hey, let's go pick up that guy. That just doesn't seem plausible to me.
Okay, I'm with you. Let's answer these last 3 because they're a little thin. Oh, and Sean has one too. Let me get that. Sean, seeing left tackle working out this season, do Chiefs have a guy in mind already for next year's draft? And if so, of course, if Jones hasn't signed, they've got to replace him. I think they have a couple of guys that they like in next year's draft. One of them is a legacy with this organization.
Oh, yeah. And by what I understand, he looks like, at least right now, he's fallen down from what people expected him to be doing, and that could definitely help the Chiefs out.
Fall to 32, bro.
Yeah, this is a big draft, a big tackle class this year. It's a good one. It's deep, and it's elite.
And I haven't even finished watching the guy that I liked so much that I thought I was alone on, and the teams proved me wrong yet again. Braden Daniels from Utah. He has a partner in crime out there that I think is going to climb up some charts too. There's going to be like 33 to like 45. There's going to be 3 or 4 tackles in there too. So watch for what happens. But the kid at Notre Dame, his name's Alt. You guys might remember that name. Let's see, Brandon, is there a current NFL comp to Ross? Like, not his current situation, what he can be. What would you call
it? Higgins. Like his former teammate. Like, they play very similar styles. They're long, they're really good at the catch point, and he's doing a good job of getting away with offensive pass interference like he does. Like, that's what I would say. Like, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, okay? It's a good thing. If you're going to commit OPI, Get away with it.
I was going to be a little bit more optimistic. I mean, if he continues towards his ceiling, everything that we've seen, he could push to be D-Hop, in my opinion. But again, my number one worry about him is the same thing it's always been. Can he stay healthy? He made it through the first big hurdle of the game. He now made it tonight through a second big hurdle in that within 10 days, he played another ball game and survived. Those are huge step forward for him. Surviving a season is a much different thing. We have to see if he can do that. And then we can start talking about, what his comp's going to be.
Yeah.
But
I also want
great
to see
question.
him get funneled some targets and do more movement and stuff like that, because he's not being asked to do a lot right now. He's being targeted in specific situations. I want to see that get bumped up and ramped up to maybe when he's not always expecting to get the ball on a pivot or on a double move. Like those are things that were designed for him to get open. So,
and that's a good point. I think it was Austin that had that as well, is that Michelle was like looking for him all the time, because some of those plays were designed to go to him, to see what else he can do. That was an exploration of his talent. Terry, do y'all think Watson makes the team? Both Watsons make this team, hands down.
Yes.
I don't see any way it doesn't happen.
Nope.
I think Justin is probably the fourth receiver right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. How many quarterbacks do we keep? That's the rub, Edwin.
It's tough.
Bush plays enough special teams to make himself important. And if you keep 5 safeties, I have trouble seeing them keep more than 5 corners. They generally don't like to go over 10 DBs. If you go 10 DBs, Jack Cochran doesn't make this roster. And that starts to become problematic, because right now you don't know what's going on with Turk. You got to keep right now, in order to field the team, you have to keep Coburn, Noddy, Wise, probably Danny, and you probably need another one. So it's starting to get to the point where you have enough depth guys that someone could start, but you don't have enough clear starters right now.
That's the big problem. They're going to keep 11 defensive linemen.
They can't.
They might have to. That's the problem. I don't think Wise makes this roster. I don't think Wise is good. I'm sorry. I just don't think he's.
I don't think
Danny Shelton. I think Danny Shelton offers more upside, which I can't believe I'm saying. So, just from an athletic perspective, I think he's got more juice in that department right now. But regardless, we're talking about they need depth at defensive line badly, especially if we're talking about Chris Jones not playing week 1. We don't know what is happening right now. This is getting out of hand, which I'm sure we'll talk more about on Monday. But this is about the Chiefs blowing out the Arizona Cardinals in a preseason game, not about the fact that Chris Jones is not playing. He's not at camp. He's not at practice. And I'm only going to hyperventilate a little bit.
Okay. So it's okay. It's okay.
This was supposed to be done already.
Yeah, I know. Just like this stream. All right, we're going to wrap it up with Teddy's question. Really hope Michelle doesn't stop my Rattler propaganda. I don't know, man. You got to show me back-to-back years of Rattler being anything worth propagandizing.
Go do it this year.
Okay, so you're in on it? You and Teddy.
I'm in on Spencer Rattler. I love Spencer
a team
Rattler.
Of 2.
I'm with you, Teddy. I'm with it.
Who's he throwing to?
He plays at South Carolina. I don't know.
I know where he plays. Who the hell is he throwing to?
Who was he throwing to last year?
Because he lost both seniors. That's my point. As good as that was, he lost the best that he had.
I think he got some transfers, but I'll talk to Damien and I'll get back to you.
All right. I'm here to know. So for the record, Dan is in on Spencer Rattler on the East Coast, and I am in on Michael Penix on the West Coast. So that's where we'll let that lie.
Be some Michael Penix too. I like him.
I know. I'm not trying to conclude you. I'm just saying I ain't going on a limb for Spencer. All right. That's going to be it for us tonight, folks. I hope you enjoyed the ball game. Luckily, doesn't seem that there were any major injuries, so we got out of here alive. I think we're going to have a good week. We'll definitely be back on Monday. I'll try to be back tomorrow night as well. Dan, if you want enough, no worries.
I make no guarantees, guys, but we'll see.
Yeah. But we will get ready for this third preseason game that kind of is going to set the table. I am tied up with kids sports next week, so Dan's going to have the post game for you and break that down. But we're going to do cuts as they come in as well. We'll probably do a stream for that the following day. So be ready, be aware. It's coming down. All this means is the regular season's right around the corner, and I think I'm ready for it. Are you?
I'm so ready for it. I hate that we have that extra week now between the last preseason game and regular season. It's like we used to just get the preseason over and then the regular season, and now it's like, oh, you gotta wait.
Dang it. I mean, and it's going to be hard too. This whole cut down from 53 to 90 in one day.
Yeah,
it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. And here's what the teams are going through. I'll leave you guys with this thought, and we can talk about it more tomorrow night. The teams, it's as bad, if not worse, than the 7th round going into UDFAs, because you have to call everyone all at once. Yeah. You have to have watched all the film. There are scouts right now that are getting pulled in from the road for the Kansas City Chiefs that are either in the building or they're at home getting ready to watch pro film, so they know who the Chiefs want to go after, even though they're usually guys that only scout college. So it is all hands on deck this coming week, and we will be all hands on deck for you as well. All the guys will be here. Dan and I will be locking it down, and I'm ready for some actual football.
Oh man, can't wait! It's gonna be a lot of fun this year. I think that this team could be special. Could be special.
What an idea! All right, run it back season. Here we go, folks. All right, y'all enjoy your Sunday. We'll talk to you tomorrow night.